want to make this easily digestible so that way people can understand, because there's a lot of different terms, a lot of different concepts in here that you may have never heard. So if you have any questions, come off mute or just drop it in the chat and I'll answer them as best as I can, because this is also very new to me as I'm coaching more people with eating disorders or just a history of food. So, but yeah, we'll get into it. We're already 7 minutes in. So let me share my screen. Let me know if everyone can see this. Solid?
See it.
Cool.
Yes, sir.
All right, guys. Disordered eating and behaviors. So there's a lot of psychology in this, and I always structure these calls in a holistic way and a scientific way as much as I can. So there's a lot of definitions, and then there's practices that we'll go into at the end. So you'll kind of see. But, oops. All right, so quick agenda. It's really short. It shouldn't be too, it's not really short, actually, but risk factors in the fitness community, common disordered behaviors we may see in the fitness community, and just how to help, like how I can help and how you can help yourself. So what is considered disordered eating? Now, eating and feeding disorders do have a broad categorization. We have anorexia and bulimia, which are pretty broad. Avoidant restrictive food intake disorder, which is called ARFID for short, which is basically you're scared of eating new foods and you restrict calories a lot over time, or really immediately. So this type of person has a short list of foods that they eat, and usually they won't try new foods because it's more of like a texture thing, right? Or it feels weird in your throat, or this doesn't mean that you legit don't actually like the food, but it's like a strong unwillingness to try nutrient dense foods, or like eating some sort of fruit, eating some sort of carrot. Like if you don't like fruits at all, this is probably you. Or if you don't like veggies at all, or any type of protein or any type of carb source, like that it's actually nutrient dense for you, this is probably you. So you only have a strong willingness to eat only certain types of food, and you have a pushback type of mentality. So you know how kids like eat your fucking carrots, and then they're resistant against carrots. It's kind of like that. But obviously, you develop a taste for it as you grow. So if you only eat 3 to 5 types of food all the time, a conversation may need to be had. So like if you eat chicken, broccoli, rice, eggs, and fucking something very basic all the time, every day, every single day, you're not getting enough nutrients in your diet, basically. So we also have binge eating disorder, BED, and others. These are the broad ones, and these are the more specific ones. We have pica, which is eating non-food substances persistently for at least a month, which is not developmentally appropriate or culturally supported. So like you're eating foods that are not really good for your diet, basically, and substances that like don't allow you to have a nutrient dense diet. And then we have rumination, which is repeated regurgitation of food, rechewing, reswallowing, or spitting it out. And it's really not due to a medical condition. And then there's anorexia athletica, which is just compulsive exercising. I've been through that, which is a fun story we can talk about later. And orthorexia, which is obsessed with clean eating, often leading to nutrient deficiencies. A lot of people, I've been through that too. My mom has been through that. A lot of people probably go through this phase for a little bit, and they just don't get enough nutrients in their diet because they're lacking like a gut microbiome that's going to help them with digestion. And we talked about digestion in our last call. So we can classify disordered eating more generally as behavior that is surrounds food and exercise that has a negative impact on any part of a person's well-being or quality of life. I am stuttering today, which is great. So we have questions to ask yourself. Does this behavior make you ill? Does it harm your body because you're not eating enough? Does it impact your daily life? Does it give you significant anxiety when you're like, for example, ARFID, right? If me as a coach is asking you to eat a certain type of food to get more nutrients in your diet and you're resistant towards it, does that give you anxiety? That's a behavior. Do you feel the need to engage? If you don't, what happens? Right? This comes to like probably binging, right? Do you feel the need to engage with the food? And if not, what happens? Food and exercise becomes more important than anything else, which is basically like food and exercise is the only thing on your mind outside of life as an adult. So, what do we think about when we're in the fitness space, right? Usually, people in the fitness space are highly driven, ambitious, type A personalities, go getters. People kind of see us as like weird because we're all into fitness and we're doing the thing and we're trying to be better versions of ourselves. So, it's very perspective and relative. So, we are people in the fitness space are also highly regimented, routine oriented people. We have a high degree of focus on enhancing our body through nutrition and training and other lifestyle factors, right? So, like in a sense, this is automated, right? And our general routine can be considered disordered or abnormal by general population. So again, this is perspective shift. This is like relative to other people in the Gen Pop, we may look disordered compared. So their version of eating is normal and our eating is disordered. So it's relative. Tracking macros, tracking your steps, eating certain types of food for your goals, flexible dieting, all those things can be considered disordered by Gen Pop. So the point is here, we mirror similar disordered eating from a relative point of view. So here's some red flags. These are probably important. Post-show, no one here is in the show yet, but if you ever do want to go into a show, food becomes a it becomes very high, a high priority topic when it comes to the show, just because disordered eating can come from the show. I went through it for a little bit. Binge eating is most common post-show. You may have individuals who fear reverse dieting and continue to try and hold their leaner physique with low food and high cardio. So, like when you lose a bunch of fat and then you try and add more calories back into your life going through a reverse diet, people want to keep their food low to have a sense of control. I did that for a little bit post show and kept my cardio high because I wanted to stay lean for as long as possible, and it was more devastating to my body and mental health than it was just to go back into my normal diet. So we'll talk about that later though. Jobs and hobbies that require a lot of attention, right? So other coaches, influencers, models. So dancers, high level athletes, sports that require weight cutting, bodybuilding. So like these types of jobs and hobbies, there are people that actually focus a lot on their body and food, and they try and manipulate their personality and food to make it as a sense of control. So trauma, breakups, and illnesses are also a red flag. Control comes in from trauma. So, like, control for you can look like restriction, binging, or bulimia. And food and exercise is also a form of control. So, which is anorexia athletica, because compulsive exercise. And when it comes to breakups and illness and injury, like for example, you can start off, it can be like you're going through a breakup and you have lower appetite or even higher appetite, it doesn't really matter, one or the other. And it can trigger some trauma from the past, from another breakup or some other memory that you've had that you haven't dealt with that is causing you to continue in that behavior, which is binging or under eating. So also comes with stress too. So in my past, I had an ED, and then they go through a breakup. Trauma may come up and show up as your disordered eating. Big stressors. We talked about that in the stress medication call, right? In those with a history of ED, you want to control the urges to come back to comfort yourself, right? So this comes back as like, for example, you may see it in the chat where people like want to just go back to old ways of restriction or old ways of binging because they feel a certain way about their body, right? So body dysmorphia can play a huge role in this. And the control can be manipulated, or yeah, basically it can be the control that you're trying to implement can look like comfort to your brain. It's like, this is familiar. And we'll talk a little bit about that because it's like a big thing that Ash talks about too. Oh, I'm talking about here. This is familiar because remember from the stress mitigation call, stress is a threat to your body, to your CNS. So your body is in stress mode. You go to panic, and then you go to panic and you go to familiar habits, identities, and thoughts that keep you safe, right? Because stress is a threat. So your body's like, let's keep you safe. We're going to go back to old habits, old identities, old things that you used to do to keep you safe. And why do we do that? Well, because I guess, again, stress isn't safe. And your CNS, your central nervous system, your CNS's goal is to keep you safe. So safe doesn't mean good. Remember that. Like, safe does not mean good. Safe means just familiar to your brain, to your ego, to your CNS. So that's what Ash talks about a lot. We might not, we always know our familiar. We don't know what is ahead, or we can't predict what is ahead. And that's why making a huge change in general in your life is super scary, right? So being comfortable with that change is necessary as you go through your journey. So stress is a big one. More red flags. Responses to body image. This one's huge. You're consistently not happy and comment on your body often. It happens often, but like the more you do it on a weekly basis or daily basis, even, it becomes um, it becomes a pattern that your ego just sees consistently whenever you're trying to make change and brings you back to the familiar. So you can also be seen as it can also be seen if it's repetitive throughout your check-ins, talking about your body negatively. I've had people talk about their body negatively at the bottom, and what I do, I bring up your progress pics. Look at all the progress you've made. This is what we do the progress pics. This is why we do the data for me on my end to help you remember where you started. So you're not looking at your body and you're like, I haven't made much progress, right? We want to see the progress over time so you don't get stuck in your own head. So this is why we do the check-ins. This is why we do the progress pics. Is your body stressing you out? Stress can be bloating. Stress around a women's period specifically can feel fat or gross, quote unquote, and it just shows that you're really hyper aware and fixated on changing things on your body, right? And that comes down to the control, right? When you're hyper fixated on the changes that are going on in your body, you're trying to find a way to control that. So that's a response to your body image. Tracking food. I used to do this. I used to zero out my numbers always. I used to hit my macros on the fucking dot every single day for like 3 years, 4 years, especially during college. I would go down to like 0.5 grams to just make the food fit within the protein, the carbs, and the fats. It was, yeah. So I treated it too much like a game. So that was a red flag for me, and I didn't know it. You have zero food variety. This is, again, back to the ARFID, which is the avoidant resistant food person that doesn't really have a lot of variety in their diet. So yeah, avoidant resistant food intake disorder. I keep forgetting the whole thing, but. And then you have random weight spikes. So like as you're going through your journey and you're trying to track your food, and this can look like stress, this can look like bloating, this can look like water, this can look like a lot of things. So this really comes down to the post-free meals or how they appear randomly, and if they're not in a cycle or documented. So when I say that, that means like when you're tracking food, and this can basically ties into your body image. So when you have random weight spikes, how do you feel post-meal? How do you respond to the weight on the scale? How do you respond to your body image that you're seeing in the mirror post-free meal or post-binging or post-whatever, right? Certain types of foods post-trigger. So, and macro hoarding at night, which is very, very common. I do this every now and then. And a lot of people do it just because you want to still be able to go to sleep not hungry. It's a terrible feeling. I've been there. Like you go to sleep hungry and you wake up hungry. It's the worst. So I developed that during show or during prep, and it's been a process removing that. But I do get busy. Most people get busy during the day. They forget to eat, and they have like 1,000 calories to eat at night, and they eat all that food at night, and that's what causes the bloating, and then their body image, and so on. Right. So it's a domino effect. Like I said, you do calories for the night. Lots of artificial sweeteners and sweet meals in general. Now, like it's okay to put like I put Splenda every now and then in my coffee, but not often, right? Because again, the more you rely on sweeteners, the more your gut microbiome can get fucked up. But when every meal is sweet, when every meal has some sort of sweetness to it, there's something we need to talk about. There's like some comfort, some control, something that you're trying to seek in terms of a craving every now and then. So people like sweet, but when it's all sweet, when all meals are sweet, this is something to address. Sweets can highlight, this is important. Sweets can highlight the same dopamine pathway that you get from love, connection, people, and memories with family, right? When you were young, you might have gotten a sweet treat or something like that when you did something, or maybe to cope with a memory or some sort of situation. So when you experience trauma and stress or something else, you go to the streets and you go to sweets, and it's trying to suppress that feeling, right? For me, cereal. I know that because when my parents had a fight, or when there was always stress in the house, or when they got divorced, or when there was this, or when there was that, cereal was my breakfast, lunch, dinner, snack, like all the time. And there was a point for me where my mom had to go have a talk with my soccer coach and my swim coach to tell them that I was only eating cereal and no protein whatsoever, because it was like my only food. So that's my form of coping. Like big ass bowls of childhood cereal, Fruity Pebbles, Captain Crunch, uh, Frosted Flakes, like all that shit. That is my form of control, and especially if it's like a big ass bowl, because my grandma used to give me big ass bowls and put me in a room while my mom and her sisters were fighting. Anyway, I don't want to trauma dump on you, but I was just giving you an example of what that looks like. So more red flags. Exercise, anorexia athletica. So you have excessive step counts. Now, if you don't need to get 20K steps in, if your job doesn't require it, there's some form of control there. Again, like if you're not on the job walking, you don't need to do that. If you can't take a rest day, or you can't just take a extra rest, this comes down to training when you're sick, you can't stop, or training when you're stressed, you can't stop, or training when you feel like you missed 3 days and you can't stop, right? Instead of just listening to your body. You, the client, fights back when we need to reduce cardio, we need to reduce training. There's some fight back. There's like, no, I still want to train 5-6 times a week. Like, no, we need to pull back because there are these biofeedback markers that are telling me we need to pull back. I used to be like this. It used to be the worst. I used to do all these things. I get it. So trust me when I say I see signs every now and then, and I try to make decisions for you guys so that way we can do that. A form of control when they are stressed, and exercise is a form of control. Plot twist. You don't control shit. This is more of like the Ash mindset, the spiritual mindset. So your subconscious controls it, right? This is a form of trauma. If you're trying to control how much you do and your output consistently to try and get you to a result when you know that it's not what you should be doing. Your subconscious runs the game until you choose to break the cycle and consistently chip away at it. Not just once, not just twice. It's like daily, daily, daily. So being aware of those cycles, being aware of those patterns is really fucking important. Dieting and questions. So these are questions. You could probably take a screenshot of this at the end if you want. What do your free meals look like? If you do have free meals, not everyone does. What do you normally get? Do you binge with free meals, or do you eat until you're comfortably full? Big one. Do you make a free meal a free weekend, a free week, a free month? Do you completely fuck off? How do you feel after them? Do you feel lethargic, shame, guilt, happy, satisfied, uncomfortable, stressed? What comes up? Are you happy in general? Outside of the free meal, outside of you eating, are you happy? Aside when you're not eating in free meal and you're happy. So, do you like yourself as a person? This is a very deep one. I didn't know what to put here, but do you like yourself as a person where you're at right now? And what are you doing to change that? Do you feel fulfilled? with what you're doing right now, with the food that you're choosing, with the movement that you're doing, with the progress that you're making. More questions? Oh, here, I'll let you take a screenshot if you want while I try and drink some tea. Okay. Reverse dieting. There are very few people that have gone through this, but you will go through this if you're in a fat loss phase. And we'll talk about what it is. Reverse dieting, after a show or long periods of dieting, reverse plans should be discussed weeks ahead. Now, I will discuss them with you. I'm going to discuss them with you because that's why we have the Google sheet. So I don't just give you plans willy-nilly. Like, I make a game plan based off how progress that you're making based off all the data. That way we can actually make a game plan and not just do things willy-nilly, because I hate when I'm talking to people just in general, like on Instagram, because they do that a lot. I have to, that's my job. And they're like, I feel like doing a cut. I feel like doing a bulk. Like, no, what the fuck? You have to have a plan going forward. Otherwise, you're just going to feel like doing everything. You're going to spin your wheels constantly. So stick to the plan. The longer you stick to the plan, the more consistent you stick to the plan, the better. You can always make changes, but as long as there's a plan, right? Plans are dynamic. They don't have to be set in stone. So I'll talk about what to expect, understand your headspace around what is to come, because some reverse diets need to be a little more planned and a little more consistent and a little more like we need to talk about food basically, because again, it comes back to adding more food into your diet and trying to control your lean physique that you got during the fat loss phase and adding a little more weight during the reverse diet. That can add some stress and some form of control, and trying to control that by adding more steps, more cardio, less food, trying to keep your leaner physique. I did it post show, trust me. So you're gonna have more food, more cravings, a little more hunger. You may not fully understand until you feel your first hunger and cravings to self-sabotage. What this looks like is, that's exactly what it sounds like. You won't understand until you actually go through it. So I can talk to you all day about it and prepare you for it, but until you go through it, it's different. It's great for some people, and for some people, it brings back a lot of triggers. Everyone's different, so that's why we discuss it. Discuss what can be done if hunger comes unbearable and if you're struggling. Now, I wish my coach during prep talked to me about this, because it was fucking annoying when I was 3 weeks deep away from my show and I couldn't sleep. Like nothing, I was just unbearably hungry every single night for like 3 weeks out, 4 weeks out. And I would like basically cry myself to sleep, and then I would wake up and work, and I would try and go back to bed, and it wasn't working. So I was like, I want you to, we will talk about that if it needs to happen, and we will adjust. We will make a plan. Again, my goal here is to make this sustainable for you, so you don't ever have to go through that. So yeah, we'll talk about a pace. We'll move the reverse faster and explain how that can help, because everyone's pace is different. Some people need 100 calories every week. Some people need 400 calories every week. I remember you talking about that. We were up early during that time. Yeah, yeah, I remember. I remember talking about that. I have videos I need to. Yeah, so I'll explain how important it is and the mindset, how important the mindset is, and the avoidance of binging. Sorry, I'll explain how important the mindset is, and that avoidance of binging eating is just important for all aspects of health. So I want communication during a reverse diet. I don't want shame. And many clients fear talking about to their coach in general. Like, I want you guys to talk to me when it comes to those things. That's why I ask you in those check-ins, like, what's going on in your head? Like, what are you feeling? So, okay, moving on. Still dining, more questions. If you guys want to take a screenshot of that, you can. Tea is too hot. Holy fuck. Don't want to lose my taste buds. That would suck. Better. Okay. Challenging negative thoughts. Look at that. I integrated that from Ash's last call. So Fat is a perception. David, actually, David, if you don't mind coming off mute really quick and just sharing what you told me about earlier, like you would feel a certain way and then you'd go to the mirror and then it was on. Yeah.
Oh, so like this week, I I don't know what it was. It was like maybe just a handful of days ago. But um, I'm on my cut. I'm down quite a bit of calories, and for some reason, I felt pretty fat. Like I felt like the way that how I felt like in my body from like before like I started with Mike. And I felt like I don't know what it was. I got really like I felt fat. Like I felt like all my progress just disappeared in that moment. And I was getting ready for my run, and I kind of didn't feel like going for the run. I think I was just a little more tired because of the calorie cut. And then I looked at the mirror, and I always tend to like look at how I look like when I lift up my shirt and I look at my gut. And literally that emotion disappeared. Just because I said to myself, I looked at myself and I said, what the fuck? I look so much better than what I looked like 4 months ago, 3 months ago, 2 months ago, 2 weeks ago. Like, like my arms are they're becoming legs, and my stomach is so much smaller. I can see my ribs, and my back is getting pretty big. And I'm sitting there like, what are you talking about? Let's go get this run. And then I just went after it. Like and I don't know what it was. I just got down for like a brief moment, and I think it was just the because you have to mentally just be there, and sometimes you're not. And then you look at everything you've done all week, all the food, all the protein, all the disciplines that you've been working on for like weeks, months, and then you get a little low and you look at yourself. Nah, you're not where you started.
There it
Yeah.
is. There it is. I love it, dude. It's huge. It's like it comes down to your subconscious and just really checking. And it comes down to what Asha said to you guys. Do you have evidence to prove that what you're thinking right now is true? If you feel fat, what evidence do you have to prove that you are, considering all the progress that you've made? So again, fat is a perception. Yes, you have fat, but you not are what you're not are your fat, right? So again, it's a perception. So my job as a coach is to keep digging deeper and understand where it's coming from, right? Whether it's a trauma or whether it's a perception or whether it's like some past situation. So we often say we feel fat when we're feeling off, just like David said. Like we have off days. I get it. I sometimes I sit here for like 8 hours and I'm like, I feel fat. And then I'll do exactly what David does. And I go flex in the mirror really quick. I'm like, dude, you look great. Shut the fuck up. So like I get it. It's even me. It happens to everyone. So body dysmorphia is real. What do you think? What do we think ourselves as a person? Right. So this is the challenging part where you challenge the negative thoughts. What do you think about yourself as a person when it comes to this? Like you may have, you may project general unhappiness, unfulfillment, and etc. onto your body, which can be showing up as which can show up as exactly that. That's really what it is. So here's what you can ask yourself. Take a screenshot of these if you want. Why would you want to consistently live with the thoughts surrounded around your body? You are surrounding yourself with those thoughts daily, weekly, on the hour, whatever. Why would you want to live with those? Would you tell your best friend or loved one the same things that you say about your body? I'm sure you've heard that one before. Or would you even tell, this is a better one, would you tell the younger version of you as like I play this out when I have my meditations basically like would I tell this to the younger version of Mike when he was like 5, 6, 12, whatever age, right? That requires some inner child shit. But would you say that to that version of you as if you were a parent to that version of you? Does that make sense? That's a good one. I would use that because that can bring up a lot of trauma from parent and childhood relationships that you might need to go through. Journaling, well, we have a lot of journal prompts. This is the holistic part later that we'll talk about. So, prompts about self love, how you see your body, and gratitude are definitely going to help you challenge your negative thoughts. You want to journal around your meal? Wow. You want to journal around your meals? You want to journal around the fears and or that you're binging? So, and we want to journal post meal digestion walks without distraction, and voice memo is a good reflection for after a meal. That's what I usually do. I'll just go. Lately, I've been doing no AirPods, no phone, and just having like, how do I feel right now? Do I feel lethargic? Do I have energy? Did that meal satisfy me? Do I feel too full, etc.? Right? Do I feel shame by eating that? So you also want to address triggers and address the need for control if you have that, right? Like we talked about earlier. So is it stress? Is it people? Is it work? Is it social media that's causing the trigger? What is it? Do you feel stuck in your trigger or is it or in your cycle? What is your trigger? You have to find that out for yourself. And sometimes I have found that out for you if we talk about more and more on our weekly calls, but it helps if you already know it. You can make the change and or adjust your perspective around the trigger and around how you feel, right? Like just exactly how David said, right? You can make the change to do that today. You want to take a social media detox. Not scrolling in certain parts of the day to avoid comparison, self-sabotage, food focus, and doom scrolling. Food focus was a huge one for me going into my show and like let's say 6 weeks out, 8 weeks out, because I would be watching fucking 10K cheat meal days from other competitors and just people in general looking at food, watching food. It was all I could focus on. And my coach actually did warn me about that, but I continued doing it because it was my form of control and my way of eating. But it just put me in a more food focused perspective, and it didn't help because I only saw the positives out of watching the video. Right, it's just a bunch of dopamine, so I didn't see the negatives, which would be completely screwing up my hormones if I did have a 10K cheat meal post show, or completely screwing up my progress or all that work that I put in, like, or just getting a bunch of unnecessary fat. So there's a lot of things that you have to take. You have to take both sides, if that makes sense. So, but having a social media detox in general just really helped. So what I did 2 weeks out was I removed YouTube from my phone and I didn't watch YouTube at all because that's where I was watching the 10K cheat meals. And I didn't watch anyone's stories. I didn't do anything. So that way I could just not fucking watch people eat. It was the worst. So it requires a lot of self-control. You want to be vulnerable? Yeah, you just want to be vulnerable. So that's why we have the community. Like talk about these things. It's everyone goes through it. I've gone through it. I've gone through shit ton of shit and a shit ton of shit. I've gone through everything, and I probably will still continue going through more. I'm not perfect. No one's perfect. So I'm here learning, still a student, just like you guys. Let's talk about binge eating because this is the most common one. So here's a principle that I like to use. I use it every now and then when I feel the need, and I almost used it last night because I know I just wasn't drinking enough water, and we'll go into that later. But yeah, HALT principle. It helps you force presence before eating, checking in on what you're feeling, and it helps not work on automatic and subconscious actions, right? Trauma. So H stands for Am I hungry? If you're hungry, find a nutritious meal and sit down and eat without distractions. No phone, no TV, no nothing. Just eat without distractions. If you're actually hungry, nutritious meal. That's it. That's the bolded word. If I gave you a plate of fruits, veggies, and protein source, and you wouldn't eat it, for one, that's ARFID, and two, it means that you're not that hungry. Like truly, you're not that hungry. So you're either giving in to some sort of subconscious activity, and you're not present while you're eating, or you're just giving to emotional eating. People will always eat carbs without a second thought, but when you're presented with chicken, beef, and you don't want it, then you're not that hungry, right? Am I angry? Or any emotion, really, but A was a better word. Instead of eating out of your anger, deal with it in a healthy and productive way, like going on a walk or a run, voice memoing, journaling, etc. You're trying to avoid an emotion by eating, right? So if you speak the emotion, this is what I do, honestly. This helps a lot. If you speak the emotion into existence, if you speak the emotion into existence, you're at least aware of the emotion, and it helps you understand why you're feeling that emotion. So continue digging deep on that with journaling. The L stands for Am I lonely? Or any state of being or experience, and a little state will show what that means. Eating away loneliness. Sorry, wow, I'm just like not saying words today. Eating away loneliness will only drive you further into isolation. So you want to call a friend, you want to go to the community, you want to call me, you want to text me, go outside, be at a social event, get outside, do something. Don't be lonely. I get it. I've been there. That's why I'm active in the chat myself, because sometimes I'm like, I'm here alone, so I'm going to do something in the chat, or I'll go work. So I'll do something productive, or go on a walk. Other states of experience would be isolation, emptiness, depression, boredom, self-esteem. Depression is a very interesting one because I didn't know if to put it in emotion or state of being or experience, because I see depression as an experience because you go in and out of depression and you experience it, but you don't feel depression. If that makes sense. Like you just the feeling is sadness and isolation. If that makes sense. So it's a really complex thing, but we won't talk about that here. Am I tired? That's what the T is. So your body is telling you that you need to sleep. You don't need food. That's a big one. Establish a bedtime routine and stick with it. So more binge eating stuff. Binge eating is obviously a scarcity mindset, right? So when you have looser macro targets, when you're in a reverse or you're in a bulk or whatever, right? Um, or yeah, exactly. You'll potentially eat your food too soon. You get hungry at night, and then you self-sabotage at night, and then you binge, right? That happens very often, especially if you hoard all your calories and macros towards the end of the day, like I used to. So here's a solution. Solution one: have more frequent meals, 5 to 6 meals instead of 3 to 4. Right. That way you space out your day. You're not as hungry all the time, and you can have a little meal at night to kind of help you with satiation. Solution two: space out your meals more every 3 to 4 hours. Sorry, every 4 to 5 hours instead of every 2 to 3. Have equal calorie targets for each meal. So if you have, for example, 2,500 calories, 500 calorie meals, instead of just having like a 600 calorie meal, 800 calorie meal, 900 calorie meal, and then you have 200 calories for dinner, and it's sad. So that math wasn't mathing because I didn't do math that quick. But anyway, so you can either meals, time, or calories. Those are the things that you can control when it comes to binge eating. You want to be in a safe environment too. This is a big trauma response for a lot of people because you want to be able to discuss struggles around significant others if you need to. So, for example, I struggle with cereal and I can't control myself. It should be myself, not yourself. So, here's what I did to control that craving. I plug my craving in every single day, no matter if I crave it or not, because I bet that you'll get tired of it. But for me, like I plugged in cereal post workout every single day, or ice cream every single day, but I portion size it accordingly to half a serving or something like that. So that way I can desensitize my brain, desensitize myself to that craving, and it will no longer be a craving. It'll just be food. It'll just be fucking cereal. It'll just be sugar, whatever you want to view it as. You'll get tired of it soon, and then you'll just like, I no longer crave it. So this can apply to anything. So only have a serving a day until you're tired of it. And I did this with someone in the community because they were craving savory around it, and it was stress related. So I won't say her name, but she was feeling like she needed to eat something savory when she was stressed from work, and uh, she basically would binge eat that savory food until she was uncomfortably full, and then she would feel guilt and shame and wouldn't track it, right? And that's not what is ideal. That's We want to be able to track those foods and bring awareness around them, especially when you're binging. So we started having that savory meal every single day with a small protein source. Um, and that helped desensitize the feeling of the craving, right? You don't, it doesn't have to be a craving anymore. So this one's big, not compensating for binges, right? I've had someone do this. I've done this, and I'll explain. Compensating means Monday through Thursday, you have 2,000 calories every day, right? 2,000, 2,000, 2,000, 2,000. Friday, you have 4,000 calories, right? You go out with the homies, you have friends, you have pizza, beer, whatever, you go over calories. And then Saturday through Sunday, you have 1,000 calories every day. That's compensation. I did that post show. So I'll explain. If you binge, I don't want shame, no restriction, no extra cardio. Just forgive yourself, realize that it happened, and move the fuck on. It's a blip in your experience. It's a blip in your fitness journey. Now, if you're doing it every weekend, that's a different story. But if you binge every now and then, compared to how much progress you were making when you used to binge every weekend, that's progress. So I did this post show. I had a 6 calorie cheat day and compensated the next day by eating 1,200 calories and restricting. I put it up on YouTube actually. It's on YouTube. So, and I did the compensation too and everything because I was like, this math is math. It works. No, like, because again, you guys see that the weekly calories, the weekly average is what I do on the Google sheet. So I was like, I'm gonna apply the same thing to myself and compensate because I went over ridiculously and I binged and I had a lot of sushi and a lot of tortas and a lot of tacos that day. Fun day. You can watch the video. I felt shame, guilt, and avoidance and wanted to control that day. Obviously, a lot of bloat, so I wasn't quote unquote hungry, but I knew I could eat and I should have eaten, but I didn't. So next weekend, I realized that. My coach talked to me about it, and I was like, I wish you didn't do that. That's not what we want. So I was like, okay, that makes sense. I won't do it. If I had four, so the next weekend I had another cheat day, cheat meal, free meal, whatever. I tracked it, 4,500 calories, and I went back to normal calories the next day because I realized I was doing my body more harm than good. Right? It's a form of control, and it's not good for mental health. I promise. Trigger foods. If you have trigger foods, have them with a whole meal and make sure you're full. Right? For me, the cereal. Sometimes I'm not. Don't judge me. I would have milk and protein, put in a shake, and put it in my cereal. That was my form of having more whole food because I wasn't gonna fucking eat chicken or eat it with egg whites. So that's how I got the protein in with my craving to desensitize myself to the cereal. But if you have any other trigger food, have it with a whole food, nutritious meal. Go back to the HALT principle and make sure that you're actually eating until you're comfortably full. And then, example, if you have dinner and then have your trigger food after, usually your dinner would be like half a serving to one serving of ice cream with a protein mug cake. That's mine, right? So we want to desensitize the craving so it's no longer a craving like I talked about. Now, healthy body image. Poor body image is a risk factor in disordered behavior. Huge one. Focus on how you talk to yourself and about your body. Be specific in your check-in. Challenge automatic and negative thoughts about your body image. Put it in your check-in. So it's a choice to speak about your body negatively. Remember that. It's a choice. Even though your subconscious controls it, you are choosing to agree with your subconscious. Remember that. To challenge them, you must ask yourself, write these down or take a screenshot. Again, Ash and I will repeat this over and over again. Is there evidence to prove that I am insert your negative body image? You want to normalize body functions and fluctuations, right? This is for the women. Social media makes it appear as the body image doesn't change. And if yours does, that's not okay. Mine does. I don't fucking post it all the time. I probably should, but there's this trend going around on social where like, this is what it looked like in good lighting. This is what it looked like without good lighting, and then the patent stuff. And so, or if you have bloating around your cycle, this is normal. So why be ashamed of it? Because you have a normal cycle. Be grateful for that, because some women lose their cycle in a deep, deep calorie deficit. That's for athletes, for people that start prepping for shows. Obviously, we don't want to get there because there's a lot of scary things and supplements and protocols that we have to go into. Dudes, we bloat too. It's normal. Your body holds on to water in times of stress and inflammation. I do it. Today I weighed like my least that I have in a while, even though I'm off my mini cut, but it looked more watery. I looked a little more bloated today just because I've been holding on to stress and a little bit of inflammation. I'm like, okay, fine, I get it. Whatever. Building your perception of yourself as a person, like we mentioned, how do you feel? How do you value yourself as a person? So your shape doesn't define you. Read that again. Your shape does not define you. It's your actions, your perceptions, and how you show up as a person. That's what defines you. So you want to ask yourself, what do I bring to this world that no one else does? It's a big question. Why do I love myself? Take a screenshot of this while I drink my tea, because yeah, I'll let you guys. Because I low-key have not been doing the edits for the videos for these recordings because I've been focusing elsewhere. So Ash's call is still not up, and these past two calls are still not up. So don't hate me, but they're not up. So take screenshots before you forget. Journal prompts. Take more screenshots. Save them in a folder. Do something, because there's a lot of them. Right now, my body needs blank, blank, blank. Right now, my mind needs blank, blank, blank. Right now, my soul needs blank, blank, blank. I am grateful that today my body helped me. When I think of my body, the first thing that comes to my head is blank because blank. When I think of my body, blank, the first thing that I like to think about is blank because blank. I like to improve how I see and treat my body because blank. I feel best in my body when blank. I feel worse in my body when blank. I can be kinder to myself by blank. I believe I should eat blank. Wait, no blank, sorry. It's just a dot. I believe I should eat, but what I really want is blank. I believe I should wear blank, but what I really want to wear is blank. I believe I should do blank, insert some sort of action, but what I really want to do is blank, what you're avoiding. These are 5 people, places, activities, or things that make me happy. If my body were my best friend, I'd treat them with blank. The next time body bashing thoughts overwhelm me, I will soothe myself by blank. It's a good one. The next important thing I can ask myself, the most important thing I can ask my loved ones to do in supporting my body image is blank. This one is huge because it requires communication with people that enforce and, reinforce your body image and things about your body that have been dialed in into your trauma response for a long time, right? Just because you're used to it. So if that's you, have that conversation. It needs to happen. Right now, I think I really need to get off my chest. Right now, I really need to get this off my chest and just say whatever you need to get off your chest. Today, I gave my my word is just not wording. Today, I gave myself permission to blank. Today, I can boost my body image by doing one small thing, whatever that small thing is. So I'll let you take a screenshot now that we're done. Have fun with it. I like the last few personally. I've done those. And Number 8 and 9 are my favorite too. So number 3 actually helps a lot too. Take a screenshot because we're basically done. Great timing. Look at that. So if you want to come off mute, comments, questions, reflections, thoughts. Happy to help. Or if you want me to go to any other thing, if you have any questions about like a specific slide that you want me to go deeper on, I shall. Because I know I was having struggles with my words today. My bad.
I think it was just a helpful reminder on some things that, like, I might mentally tell myself, oh, it's not that bad, but then I catch myself, even though it might be something small, like I have to kind of backtrack that I might not track. Like, I didn't track a dark chocolate bar that I had yesterday, and this is due to munchies. One, I don't think that's going to kill me when I've been, on top and aware and very transparent with all my tracking over the last couple of weeks. But two, it's like, well, am I hiding it, or am I just like, oh, okay, I know what it is.
Mm-hmm.
So those are little things that I find myself that might be small little jobs of self-sabotage that I don't want to make bigger things.
Right.
And then especially now with the cut, like I'm realizing, man, I really got to be particular about my food more so than before.
Yeah. It's like
And
having
then
a
it sucks because I'm craving sweet things, and it could be PMS, right? Could be just that time of the month and all that good stuff. But like for the most part, I'm able to keep it at bay. But lately, I've been wanting more. I've been wanting some stuff that I'm like,
have
I
it every
know
day.
this feeling is gonna go. Well, no, but I know it'll go away because I don't always want it all the time. It's just right now, it's like, ooh,
That's the point.
like chocolate, like a nothing bundt cake. No, but what I want to go in on like a little bundt cake. I want to go in
That's the
on like a
point.
brownie from Chick-fil-A. I want to go in on like, stuff that it's just like has no nutritional value. It's just,
Get
it's
it.
there.
I get it. That's what I'm saying. Go get it and split it into quarters and halves and have it every day. See how you feel. The whole point is
No, because no, I know what you mean, but I know me, and in this state, it's not okay.
why?
Because I will end up just saying fuck it, I'm gonna eat the whole thing, and I know that's something that I gotta do. So that's why I
Yeah.
look for healthier options, or like, okay, if I have, like, how it's just how I have to trick my mind. So they have like those brownie crisps, or they like there's other options, right? Like I've been leaning into, I'll have a good pop. Normally, if I have popsicles, like they're true like water-based popsicles. But lately I've been buying like a mint chocolate chip one. Why? Because it kind of satisfies that craving of having ice cream, but it's not dairy. And I'm, on top of low FODMAP, missing bread sometimes. Like I'm getting breakfast right now, and I was like, well, I can't get a sandwich. I can't get a burger. Like, I can't do a lot of things just because I know I'm trying to heal my gut and get myself to a place where I can start reintroducing. So I was like, all right, I'll get a bowl. And that's
Where you
all I eat now. It feels like bowls. Or
where you
sometimes I get fancy.
where are you getting breakfast?
A little mom and pop shop.
Oh, cool.
What's it called? It's called George's Cafe. So I got a veggie breakfast bowl that comes with a bunch of veggies and potatoes. And then I asked them to add ham to it and
Nice.
2 eggs.
Nice.
When I
Well,
eat it, I'll be really happy. But
when we'll talk about your craving situation when we go into reverse, when you have a little more calories to play with, because I do want to explore desensitizing you around certain foods, because it's important to do that and just realize most food is food as long as you're having a really dense, nutrient dense diet, which you are right now, being on low FODMAP.
Mhm.
So we'll talk about that later, because I know that if you were to have those foods right now, you would probably still be fucking hungry, and it would leave you in a state where you're just like, oh, because we just want to dial in the cut right now. But we'll talk about it when we get
Yeah.
first, and you have more calories to play with.
Yep. So I'm feeling it. That's all it is. I'm feeling the cut
I'm glad.
and just trying to be more aware.
It's good. Anything else kind of resonate?
Um,
I mean, binge eating, you could have said like that also includes alcohol.
Facts. I didn't. I usually don't put alcohol in here because I just stopped drinking. So like I don't.
I know, but a lot of people do. A lot
No.
like I haven't curbed my drinking, the drinking habits that I had. I didn't start curbing them until like a year and a half ago because it wasn't just me trying to drink and deal with my emotions. It was me essentially using it as an excuse to deal with my emotions or to bottle up and then explode. And then it was affecting more than just myself.
Yeah.
And like I've had these conversations with my big from my sorority, and we were talking about how like we're not in college anymore. Not that it was cute then, but like you could explain it away. But now get out of college, you're closer to your 30s or you're in your 30s and you're still drinking and getting fucked up and like fighting with your significant other, whoever you're with, and like, you know, you're just a hot mess. It's not cute anymore. It feels really shitty.
Mhm. Mhm.
So I had a lot of stuff that I had to kind of deal with, and a lot of stuff that I had to just realize this isn't helping me. If I
Yeah.
want to keep certain people in my life, if I want to actually make these things work, I need to stop looking to alcohol to make me feel better.
Yeah. That's true.
So that's why I hardly drink anymore. It puts me to sleep.
Same.
Yeah.
Same. I'm glad. Yeah. I'll next call we do. I'll think about alcohol if it's something related around having habits or negative toxic habits. So yeah. Were you gonna say something,
Yep.
John?
um, a lot of it hit close to home.
Nice.
A lot of it really hit close to home, and it gave me a lot to think about and more self. I got to do more self reflection.
More what?
Self reflection.
Self-reflection. Okay. That's good. I'm glad. Yeah, dude. I mean, if you took screenshots of all the journal prompts, obviously, you know what? Send me your. I have your fucking email. I'll send you this so you can have it. If you didn't take screenshots, I'll send you guys this presentation just because you guys were on here. So I appreciate your time. If you ever want to take screenshots of the journal prompts, um, I'll probably post them in the chat too, so everyone has them, so they know that they're missing out. um, but yeah, what part specifically kind of hit close to home?
It was. It was the last slide, especially number 3.
This one?
Mm-hmm. Right now, my soul needs, and what I feel I need is closure for a lot of things, especially for like for my past and things I've been through. 'Cause I feel like that's holding me back right now.
It's
I
good,
feel,
man. It's good. It's a lot of good, lot to think on, because closure can look like a lot of different things with people, with certain situations from your past. It can look like a lot of different things with yourself. Obviously, closure from yourself, from a different version of you. So think about those things, journal on them. If you need help with journal or how to get your journals like situated. A lot of people are different. Personally, I hate writing. Voice memo and typing are my way. Some people love writing, getting a pencil in their hand. Some people like video. So whatever works for you, try to explore that and do some self-reflection. Talk about it. It'll help a lot. I'm glad, man. Anything about the food stuff? Just the binge eating stuff in general, or like
No, because I see where I was messing up at. I see what it is now, and it's mostly stress. I mostly binge eat while I'm stressed.
yes, that's the big one. Stress is a huge binge eating trigger for sure. It can definitely, especially if you're holding on to like weeks of it or months of it, or just you're in a constant state of stress and you don't know it, and it feels normal to you, because that can be the norm for a lot of people, and especially in Western culture. Like their stress is really high, but it's the new baseline now because they don't know how to deal with it because we're stuck in front of screens all day. We're scrolling on social. We're comparing ourselves. Just so subconscious is just running the game most of the time, and you're not aware of it. So, um, but yeah, man, that's good. My trigger for binging is just being bored. Honestly, I don't eat when I'm stressed, which is dumb, but when I'm bored, so I try and stay productive, even though if that productivity doesn't serve me. So something I'm working on. But yeah,
And
cool guys.
also, and also there's certain memories as well. Like my grandmother, my dad mother, she taught me how to bake. So whenever I start thinking of her, I usually bake some sweets.
Oh, really? Okay. Is it that so like sweets trigger a memory of love, compassion, connection for you, and that's where it's a form
Yes.
of coping? That's good. That's good. Good awareness, dude. Fuck yeah. That's same thing for me. My grandma used to just my grandma used to be a grandma, so here, mijo, just have this food so you can feel better. I'm like, yeah, okay, thank you. And little did I know, I still fucking rely on it. So, um, but yeah, man. What about you, David? Anything? I think he's busy.
Yeah,
Oh,
I'm sorry. I'm with my kids right now. Sorry.
hey, bro. Yeah, I know. I know you want to have a. I'll make it short, but okay, guys. Thank you for coming. I appreciate you. We do these bi-weekly, so not next Sunday, next Sunday. So again, these are based off patterns that I see in the community. Sometimes I give you like an idea that I'll do it all in the next one, but generally it changes just because I made this yesterday and I was like, this is what I think I see a lot in the community. And there's specifically a few people, they're not on here. So, but that's okay because I think they would benefit a lot. But this one would probably be something that I will edit very soon so I can just get it out and you guys can see it. So, thank you for being here. Appreciate you. Let you guys have your Sunday back. And yeah, I'll talk to you guys in the chat. Bye.
Thank you.
Bye.
Bye.
Thank you.
Bye, guys.
Bye.
Bye.